What is going on, guys? HappiDaze here. In today's video, we got a data drop for the next TM units that are coming out for the next treasure map that is coming shortly in global. So as you can see right here, here are the icons of the units that are coming out. As you can see, it's another batch with Luffy and Nami and also Hiyori. Also, as well, we are getting the Super Evolution for Whitebeard, which was the reward for doing PKA for this month, and that's why we got multiple copies of him, so that way you could max out 2 instead of the usual just 1 single unit. So before we get into the all 4 units, I'm going to start off with Whitebeard. We'll go over kind of how he's changed, and then we'll actually hop into the new units. Before we start, just a quick programming note. Luffy is going to be the legend for this TM, so he is probably going to be the most important one to try to go for. He's a great unit, and we'll get into why, and Nami and Hiyori there are the rare recruits. So that's kind of the structure that this Sugu Fest will follow. If you want to get the highest point boosters and get the most points for this event, obviously you want to get them. And based on some of the mechanics, I think it's going to be quite a tough treasure map in terms of some of the gimmicks that are going to be there. So let's just go ahead and actually get into what the units do. So I'm going to start off going through the evolution of Whitebeard here. So I won't go through all the specials because not much has changed. So just to kind of give you a quick synopsis of what changed from his previous version, he stayed the same, Slasher Striker. The only difference is he went from a quick unit up to a strength unit when he super evolves. So outside of that, there's no change to his class. There is a little bit of change to his captain and special ability, but it's not a huge change there. So on his captain ability itself, what you'll see here is that he boosts the striker and slash attack by 4.5 times. If you remember for the blue version of him or the quick version of him, he only did it up to 4 times. So we got a little bit of a boost there on the attack. And of course, instead of making the quick orbs matching for the previous version, now he makes strength orb matching to match his own type that's there. In terms of the special, there were a couple changes here. So this whole first condition about the crew's HP being lower than 10%, and we'll see as we go through the other characters who are going to be on this TM, this was a common reoccurring theme, is that if you have low HP, you get a lot of buffs and a lot of boosts. That means that on this TM, there's probably going to be a lot of buffs that are going to be happening that are going to cut your HP, and it probably won't be too fun, to be honest. But if you can get a low HP threshold, basically what you get, which you didn't have in the previous version, is the ability to ignore the immunity to increase damage taken and apply that to all enemies for 2 turns, which is great. And then you can also set the chain multiplier from 2.75 to 40 for 3 turns. So if you remember on the previous version of this unit, in order to get that chain multiplier there, you had to actually have the captain be a striker or a slasher unit there. So that's changed a little bit. You now don't have to have that unit be a captain. As long as your HP is low, you will get that chain multiplier, which is awesome. In terms of what else is different here, you'll see now he reduces all enemies' barriers by 2. In the previous version, it was only by 1, so he's gained an extra turn of removing the enemy barrier there, which is always great. And then the last change here is basically if the character has a tandem orb, when the special is launched, he increases the enemy's increased damage taken by 0.25. And that was not there as part of his previous kit that was there. So if you launch this and he's at that 10% threshold that's there, you can basically get 1.75 times the damage taken, which is awesome. And it goes through immunity, which is even better. So outside of that, nothing has really changed outside of those couple things that I mentioned there. So, and the sailor abilities pretty much, I think, stayed the same there. He reduces burn, which is fine. Immune to stun. You don't have that much content that stuns you, so I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. And his super tandem there looks like it stayed the same. So overall, I'm pretty disappointed of this upgrade. Usually when they have not straight upgrades, you expect much better things. And I know he has a lot of things already going on in his special. With the ability to reduce burn, chain multiplier, increase damage taken. So I know he had a lot of stuff in his special, but it because he didn't get too much more in his Super Evolution version, it just kind of feels like it's not that much of an upgrade. And I know they gave us the free unit, right? So it's tough to complain. You don't want to complain when Bandai gives you anything free, but I think they could have tweaked his kit a little bit more to give him a couple more unique abilities, maybe some more synergies with the batch that just came out. So that is the evolution of Whitebeard. So let's start getting into the actual other units in this TM. So let's go ahead and start with Hiyori that's here, and just a shout out to Zoro, who runs the OPTC New Unit Info, who makes these nice infographics that just kind of makes it really easy to kind of go through and see what the units are and what they do. So thank you, Zoro. Appreciate it. And let's look at the captain ability of Hiyori first. So reduces the cooldown of Quick, Free Spirit, and Slasher by 1 at the start of the fight, which is good. It's always great to have a captain who reduces cooldown. And of course, the recovery and attack are just kind of mid because they're expected to be the rare recruit, not the legend of the batch. And they make Free Spirit and Slasher's recovery and tandem orbs matching, which is fine. So overall, you probably won't use this unit as captain, so I'm not too focused on the captain ability. But let's see where the special is, because this is going to be the really tricky portion of this. And that's really the ability to completely remove poison and blindness. So the poison isn't as big of a deal. We have units like Reiju and another of other units who can kind of help remove poison. So I'm not too worried about that portion. But the blindness does worry me a bit. We don't have a ton of units who can remove blindness, even less support characters who can remove blindness. So unless you have some of those older units, or you have maybe like Makino with the Shanks to help remove some of that blindness, it'll probably be a little bit difficult to have to take care of that if you have to encounter that in the content that's there. And because it's part of the kit, there's a good chance that we're going to be having one of the stages where you get poisoned and blind. She also has the ability where if the orb is Rainbow or Wano when the special is launched, she reduces the counter heal and counter recovery by 6 turns. So again, this is going to be another really hard mechanic just because there's not many units in the game that can counter this, right? So for example, off the top of my head, I know there was a Mancherry and Shiroshoshi unit that could help remove some counter recovery. The unit with the 4 girls with the Shiroshoshi, Mancherry, Vivi Rebecca, that 4 girl unit or 4 woman unit there could do it. I believe Chopper, the Christmas Chopper, could help remove that as well. Maybe even the V1 Straw Hats, I thought, might have had some kind of ability there as well. But there's not, outside of those units, there's not very many that can actually take care of the counter heal or the counter recovery. So this is going to be probably a pretty painful unit to try to replace if you don't pull, unless you have a stacked box. If the crew has overhealed by 30k or more when the special is launched, it boosts the Quick, Free Spirit, and Slasher base attack by 1500 for 2 turns. Otherwise, you get 1,000 for 1 turn otherwise. So that's great. Either way, you get the boost. It's just going to be a matter of whether it's 1,000 versus 1,500. So you can't complain. That's pretty awesome that you'll get that base attack boost that's there. And you'll see this 30k appear as well in Nami's kit description as well. And we'll get into why. There's a very specific reason, I think, why they put that 30k threshold in there for overheal to get some of these extra bonus effects. And then lastly, she'll also heal the crew by 30% of the maximum HP, which is great, especially if you have a lot of the units. You'll probably be somewhere in that maybe 70 to 90,000 HP range. So if you heal for 30% of that, it'll be pretty close to even getting that 30k just from Hiyori alone. So can't complain. Special does a lot of good stuff. Like I said, I think the complaint I have is that it's going to be tough to replace her is my biggest thought here. In terms of her sailor ability, so if she taps with the rainbow slot, you get a 10% free spirit resistance increased damage. And if you have a Wano slot, you get a 10% slasher damage to enemies for 1 turn, and then you do a heal for 500. So it's not bad. Like I said, 10% is not the end of the world, but any damage helps, right? And TMs aren't really that hard, so it probably won't help out like a huge amount. It's not going to be the difference between you winning a run and you probably not winning a run, but just having a little bit of extra damage there is nice. Let's look at her support real quick. So once per quest, if she uses a special, heals by 20% and completely removes the poison, and it goes on Okiku or Toko. Not a lot of units that it goes on. I mean, the special itself is actually pretty good, being able to remove poison and heal. is actually really good. But it's a shame that it'll only be on 2 units, and you don't really use these units too frequently on teams. They both don't really have specials that kind of make them more inclined to go on those teams that you have and be able to do things. And this unit is as you'll see, quick free spirit is kind of the theme of this TM batch. So this is a quick unit that's free spirit and slasher. And you can see below here as well the potential abilities, nothing kind of too crazy or special there, just kind of your out-of-the-box abilities. So yeah, that's Hiyori. So let's go ahead and move on to Nami. And then we'll move on to Luffy, who is the legend for this batch. So again, Nami is a quick free spirit unit. And what is nice is that in her potential ability, she does have removing 7 turns of slot bind. That's just a nice effect, but other than that, it's kind of your standard potential abilities, nothing kind of too crazy there. Again, she reduces cooldown of quick, free spirit, and striker by 1 at the start of the fight, boosts the recovery by 1.25, attack by 3.75, and makes the free spirit and striker's recovery and tandem orbs matching. Once again, you're not going to be using Nami as a captain, so it's not that big of a deal. So let's just go on to her special itself. So it reduces cooldown of the crew by 1, so that's hard to complain about. That's always good to help get specials ready quicker. Reduces despair by 6, so that means that there'll probably be some gimmick where, maybe you get 6 to 8 turns of despair on this TM. There are a lot of units that help take care of despair, especially in their captain ability, so I'm not too concerned about replacing this unit if you don't pull. And you change your orb into a rainbow orb. So what you'll see as we kind of go into the Luffy legend, it seems like, rainbow orbs are really what they're pushing you towards in this TM. And we'll talk about, what Luffy can do to help with that. But I could definitely see this character going in the middle slot there. So that way she will basically give herself a rainbow orb, and then if you use the Luffy captain special, then the top and bottom rows get rainbow orbs as well. So I could see that slitting in nicely there. And if your crew is overhealed by 30k, similar to what Hiyori special was, then basically you get a boost to quick type free spirit orb effects for 2.75 and boost the quick and free spirit. Okay, so this is again that whole and or that's been going on recently with kind of the last batch, right? So if you're quick type and free spirit, then you get the 2.75 orb boost. Otherwise, if you're not, then you end up getting the 2.5 boost instead for 2 turns. So I'm not sure how I quite feel about this mechanic, seeing it in Odin and how it kind of works there. It's just sometimes it can be confusing to say, which units fit in which conditions there, and just make sure that you bring the right units along to satisfy all those conditions. But the orb itself, the orb boost itself there is actually pretty decent. So I can't really complain there, and it's for 2 turns, which is always good. And then lastly, if the HP is 10% or below, then basically you get an attack boost for 2.75. And otherwise, if you're quick type strikers, so both of those, then you get 2.75. Otherwise, you get, if it's an either or scenario, then you get 2.5 for 2 turns. So you get both attack and orb boost in one special, so it's really hard to argue against that. That's pretty good. I could definitely see that having some uses in content. So let's go ahead and look at the Sailor abilities here real quick. So when she's in Inflicted with Rewind, it rewinds by 2 turns, so you always like to see that. That's good. And heals HP, 500 HP at the end of the turn, which is fine as well. So let's go ahead and look at her support. So it goes on Carrot, Speed, Otama, and Shinobu. And once per quest, if the crew is afflicted with despair, it reduces despair by 1 and does a 4,000 HP heal at the start of the turn. It's not great. There's tons of units now that do lowering of despair for all the kind of Straw Hat crew and for a lot of other characters that are there. So it's really tough for me to say that the despair removal is great. It's nice to have, but I don't think this unit will see a lot of play just because she can remove despair by 1 turn there. So let's go ahead and get into the legend of the batch, the man himself, Monkey D. Luffy. And what is good about this unit is that you'll see that he actually has some Pirate Rumble stats as well, which is always good. Let's go ahead and take a look at his captain ability. So the crew's cooldown by 1 at the start of the fight. And he boosts the quick and free spirit HP by 1.5, attack by 5.75. So again, you'd love to see that they're kind of going after that 6 times multiplier, or getting close to that 6 times multiplier to kind of match up what we had with the New Year's Legend. So you can't really complain at 5.75. And that's if they have a tandem or a rainbow orb. If they don't and just have matching orbs, you get 5.5 attack, and then if it's just matching orbs themselves and not the tandem or the rainbow orbs, you get a 5.25. So overall, attack increase isn't bad. HP is good. Can't really complain too much there. And if for whatever reason you don't have that quick and free spirit characters, then you still get a 4.75 times boost. It would have been better if it was maybe 5, but it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, not too bad. And they also makes the strength, dex, and tandem orbs have matching effects, and then heals the crew by 5 times the character's recovery at the end of the turn. And then the best part, I think, of his kit right here is this last line where if your HP is 30% or below, you launch your special once, but it doesn't actually count towards you using that special, which means you could actually use the special again right after it triggers from his captain ability. And when we talk about a special, you'll see why it's crazy. So his special itself reduces silence, so special bind, paralysis, and burn by 6. So technically, you could actually remove that by 12 if you hit that 30% HP threshold. It triggered, and then you triggered the special itself, which is just crazy because it makes you wonder how many turns of these debuffs you're going to end up seeing on this TM. And it's probably going to be pretty brutal in terms of what you see for these buffs on the TM. It also heals the crew by 30,000 HP and changes the top and bottom rows, including block slots, to rainbow. So as I was mentioning on Hiyori and Nami, there was a condition there to heal that 30k, right? So the real strategy that Bandai wants you to use here is obviously you use Luffy first and then use the effects of Nami and Hiyori to buff or get those additional special conditions for each of those units because of the heal that he does. The fact that you can change block slots to rainbow for the top and bottom is pretty ridiculous. Obviously, rainbow slots do a ton of damage. That can't be changed. And as I was mentioning, with the Nami unit, she can change her own slots to rainbow, right? So it just makes it so, in essence, if you use Nami and Luffy here, you could pretty much get 5 out of your 6 units already have rainbow slots going into potentially, the final stage of the boss stage, which is just absolutely fantastic. Love this legend and what he can do in his special. And if the crew has attack up status when the special is launched, it boosts type effects for quick and free spirits by 2.75 for 1 turn. And if that's the quick and free spirit, and then if you have the quick type free spirit, you get attacked by 3 times, and then down to 2.75 for 1 turn. So I forget if it was Hiyori or Nami, but one of their specials is the one that actually will give you that attack up, right? So that's awesome. You can use that special to get the attack up. Then you use Luffy, and you'll end up getting this extra type effect boost as well. So if you just think about that, if you could use, Luffy, Hiyori, Nami, and maybe even the quick version of Whitebeard, who could help lock your chain multiplier there. I mean, you can just do crazy amounts of damage to strength units. I think it's going to be pretty crazy, and the good news is it'll make probably the boss really easy to defeat on this TM, especially because of all the buffs that they're kind of giving to help get those quick free spirit characters to just be absolutely ridiculous in what they can do. So that's the special. It's a great special. Can launch it twice, which makes it even better. So let's go ahead and look at the super type. And if any 2 are on the crew, and it's pretty much a Straw Hat crew that's there, as well as Yamato, Momo, and Otama. So there's a or condition, which is even better, or you have low HP. So that's actually fantastic. That low HP means that you could bring kind of whatever team you want, and as long as you are below that 30%, you'll be able to do his super type, which removes special bind by 6 turns again, which is just nuts. Like the fact that he could potentially remove special bind by almost maybe 18 turns, right? If you get 6 from getting below that 30% threshold from the captain ability, if you do another 6 for running his special, and then do his super type, I think if it all works together, which I think it would, you could almost remove 18 turns of special bind, which is just absolutely nuts. So great. It's a great super type, at least even for that first ability. and he also delays enemies by 1 turn through immunity. So apparently he's pulling the Usopp card and just delaying enemies through immunity, which is it's kind of awesome. Broken a little bit, but it's awesome how he can also delay these enemies, and also you get a conditional boost for delay of 1.75. So you're just going to do more damage against those enemies that you delay, and you turn quick characters into super quick. So this super type is ridiculously good. I am so happy for it. This unit is going to be definitely worth pulling. If you get him, I don't think it's probably worth going to 30 multis to get him. But if you go maybe 3 to 7 or 3 to 8 pulls, it might not be a bad idea to see if you can get this guy, because he's actually going to be pretty good with a mix of his captain ability special and his super type there. So final tap isn't really that great. You just boost your attack based on how much HP you have left. So the more HP you have left, it looks like the more attack you'll do. So anything over 60,000 HP, you'll get 2,500 attack. And then as you get closer to 1 HP, it'll go all the way down to potentially just 1,000 attack. So you won't be leveling up his final tap. There's nothing kind of too crazy there. In terms of his sailor ability, he reduces his own special bind by 6 turns, which is, again, crazy. This guy is going to be awesome. Any kind of special bind content, and he's just going to be ridiculously awesome. And if Captain is a free spirit, he reduces paralysis by 1, and if they're quick, he reduces burn by 1. So what's nice is I think you'd actually stack both of these. So if they're a quick free spirit, I think you get both the paralysis and the burn by 1, which is nice. Like I said, there's a lot of paralysis reducers, an okay amount of burn reducers. So it's kind of cool that he can kind of do both of these, in one. Just for being a sailor, right? Just for being a crewmate, he can kind of get one of these turns down. I think it'll just make things easier, right? Especially if you can't bring a Nami, because let's say you have the new Nami unit. Any way you can reduce paralysis is going to be good. So I really can't complain at all about the crewmate ability. It's really awesome, to be honest. And then lastly, the support ability goes on Momo and Yamato, and once per quest, if you get paralysis, you reduce paralysis by 2 turns and heals by 4,000 HP at the start. So again, there's a lot of paralysis removers, so it's not the end of the world, especially because of Momo. There's a lot of the scabbards who can help kind of reduce paralysis there. So it's not the it's not like he's solving a very unique niche that's out there. But still, I mean, 2 turns of paralysis removal isn't bad, and you don't have to do any conditional things such as captain being like a damage dealing captain, or doing a damage dealing special or anything like that to trigger it. You just get it automatically. So that part is nice. So yeah, I mean, overall his whole PvE kit is really good. I'm probably going to be at least pulling maybe 3 to 5 multis for him, just because I think it would be really great if you got him, even if you didn't get Nami or Hiyori that's there. So just a quick look at his Rumble, and then we'll wrap up this video. So he has a 30 CT, which isn't that bad, and he gives quick teammates defense and attack up level 7. That is pretty awesome. That new quick team is pretty cracked in terms of what they can do. And I think the one limitation that you'll see here is because he's a legend. He'll have that high cost. So I don't know if I'm pretty positive that this will end up having to take off a lot of those bench units who are maybe 20 cost units, because now you have another 55 cost unit on that team. So I'm not quite sure if you'll see him a ton in Rumble. Obviously, the defense up is huge. That's a huge bump, 7, and 20 seconds is a long time. So it might see some play, but like I said, I think people are going to have to re-engineer some of their teams that they've been creating with that blue squad, just because of the extra cost that he will be there. The second part is kind of weird. I don't know what they were trying to do here, but if the team has 5+ fighters, basically it removes half stats and you get a heal for 3 times the recovery. I haven't seen really the fighter teams be that prominent in a lot of the Grand Party and a lot of the Pirate Rumble, the normal Pirate Rumble. So I highly doubt you'll see people using him for boosting the fighter team. I think, like I said, you're more than likely to see this guy ending up on the all quick team just to help shore up that defense a little bit as well as the attack. He does give quick teammates HP and speed up level 5, and fighter teammates attack up level 5. It just kind of is what it is. Nothing too kind of crazy or special there. Yeah, so and he can reduce damage by strength enemies by 30%. And he evades special bind, which is good. So yeah, I mean, overall, the unit probably is much better in PvE, I would say, than on his PvP kit, but he is pretty cracked on his PvE, especially because that reducing special bind is always a pain on stages when it's there. And the fact that he can kind of activate his special 2 times is just going to make him just breeze through any content that has those 3 debuffs on it. So yeah, he's a great unit. I can't really complain. So with that wraps up our video today of what the units are. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section below if you plan on pulling for these units. Like I said, I probably definitely will. I think Luffy is probably the best out of the bunch. And then after that, if I had to take a second best out of this bunch, I would probably say it's most likely, in terms of gimmick-wise, it would probably be Hiyori, just because she can do things that a lot of other units don't do. But for pure damage, Nami is probably actually better, just because of what you can give for slot effects and also attack boosts. So that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, be kind to each other. Thanks, guys.